Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast, episode 132, Xbox by Activision, and an unreserved apology. With me, George, and as always joined by Tom, Activision to my bizarre creations. How's it going?
It's going well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Before we get any further into the show, I think we should say we've lost our way a little bit. 132 episodes at this point. I'm a bit battle worn, to be honest with you. And we've lost focus on what made this show good. It was fun for the family, but also for the adults. It was a podcast you could have on in the car with the kids, no swores. It was a nice place to come, where we talked about video games. And recently, we feel, we're always our own harshest critics, that we took a bizarre detour left, and it's time to spin the vehicle around and come back to what seemingly made us great in the first place, which is our passion and love for video games.
It is, yeah.
And each other.
Yes.
Tom, do you have anything more to add?
No, I don't think so. I think you've summed it up well there. We, like you say, we do this week in, week out. Sometimes it's difficult to come up with new ideas and creations. Some hit, some miss, and we've definitely lost our way a bit there. So we want to keep it back on point.
And we're sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry if we've upset anyone. I don't think we've genuinely upset anyone that much, but I think we just want to put it out there. If we have, we're really sorry about that, and we do want to keep it about video games and keep you guys entertained.
And more importantly, if you've listened, or you have listened, or do listen, we would like to say thank you. Every single one of you counts. There's enough to fill a Methodist chapel at this point, right? And we're grateful for every single one of you.
Equivalent of a small wrestling venue, I think. And we like to put on a show.
We do.
Every time.
Even
if you've taken 100 chair shots.
And that's where I'm at.
And you've got a steel cranium.
I have literally took 132 chair shots, mainly from you, stiff ones as well.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And it's took its toll. And the old creative, I had creative concussion.
Yeah.
And anyway, news in from our former sponsor, Kai Soy. He's passed on. Apparently,
Look, he came to me and he said, Ghostbusters Afterlife, been a big success, so I want to make a sequel. He said, I want to audition, Tom, for the role of a ghost. I said, I can help you with that.
Okay.
He is a method actor now.
Okay, all right.
Of a ghost.
I thought that we'd sort of, this is where it all goes wrong, you see, because I thought we'd penciled in off air that he was going to have died from his, what's that, avocado stone. He had been milking those, and it actually transpired in large quantities it's poisonous.
That's what we're telling the lawyers.
He died from his own press A?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep it simple.
Listen,
I don't want to be going back to Rikers.
We're heading down
Law Street.
We're heading down Law Street. There isn't no time for that. That's not really what
Let's
this
get back
is about.
on point.
We get back on point. Let's cut straight to the chase. Let's go old school. Odders, grip the wheel of your mum's 1.3 Fiesta rat bomb, because I need to ask Tom what you've been playing.
Boom, straight into it. Well, might surprise you, I've gone retro.
Never meet your heroes.
I was up in the loft.
What's this CFAX graphics nonsense that you're talking about?
It's a bit of a low blow here. I went up into the loft. I brought down my GameCube and I brought down the N64. I have no leads for either. I have no games for either, and I have no controllers for either.
I thought you'd gone retro.
I have. I'm bringing the retro game up in a minute because it's not on those consoles. I just wanted to say that spurred me to probably play a slightly older game in my eyes. So I got those down. Hopefully me and you are going to do a bit of retro hunting if we can, but I'm very surprised how expensive retro gaming is.
Oh, now you see it as an elite thing.
Yeah, now it's elitist. I want to do it, you see.
Of course. Yeah, okay.
You know, that's the way I
am. So you've basically brought those down as ornaments?
Ornaments, yeah.
What are you
It made me really sad because when I first met my wife, no, that was N64. When I got rid of my GameCube collection, I basically traded a lot of it to put towards an engagement ring. And I had probably one of the best collections on there. I had 3 controllers, one and then a Wavebird.
Oh, you did?
Memory cards.
Yeah.
I had Resident Evil 4, Time Splitters 2, I had Zelda, Wind Waker, Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, like probably about 15 to 20.
WWE.
Yeah, Day of Reckoning 1 and 2. I had probably 15 to 20 games. Launch day GameCube, purple in colour. And I think that's probably worth quite a bit of money now. But yeah, I mean, that's what you do sometimes. And hopefully I can rebuild that collection and pass it on down to the boy when he's old enough. But yeah, so that got me thinking about what I could actually play. I thought, I know, there's a few old games on PS5. I visited The Last Guardian. Sony Japan Studio.
I'm looking at you because you said it was an old game.
PS3, it's quite old. That's retro
The
to
Last
me.
Guardian was on PS4.
It was on PS3 as well, though. It was almost PS2 because it was borderline. It was delayed for that long that it took. It probably nearly ended
What
up
happens in The Last Guardian, Tom?
a young boy meets a creature
Yeah.
that he's locked in a basement with, or a dungeon.
Never made it out on PS3. Famously. Delayed. Only ever came out on PS4.
Are you sure?
PS2's backwards compatible with PS4, apparently.
You're genuinely telling me The Last Guardian never came available on PS3?
Don't reach for your phone because you ain't got a gaming brain without it. I'm telling you now. All right? Famously.
I think you're wrong on that one.
All right. Well, they can message in and let us know. And it can be in Community Creations because
I never had a PS3. I'm sure I remember seeing the box art for it.
Maybe I'm living in a strange fever dream. Normally, I know about games.
Anyway, I've played probably 3 hours to 4 hours at the weekend,
Yeah.
which I really enjoyed. The controls are very clunky, very reminiscent of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. It's got the similar problems, but that creature, whatever it is, Trico.
You can't force that creature. It's kind of like a Tamagotchi. You can't force
Well, they were
it.
saying, I read an interesting fact about it, that the creature was designed to not always obey you.
Correct.
It's not like poor game design. It will sometimes just do it in its own time and leisure, and
That's
people
right.
got frustrated with that. But I've actually found, just playing it in like 1 or 2 hours, I thought it was brilliant. The animation on that creature is some of the best I've ever seen, even now.
The
Because
bonding with the animal, much like in Red Dead, it's what
really
pulls you
good.
in. It's very
I mean,
mechanic, like button-heavy inputs.
Yeah.
So you have to like hold and...
I find the analog sticks, when you touch them in a certain direction, the boy just either goes all or nothing. You've got to be very subtle if you want him to like creep. And I found like when you were in the base of this dungeon where you free the creature for the first time, that was really nice. It just felt like you're playing in part of an 80s childhood movie, more a Japanese based one, but it was really nicely done. I'm really impressed with it so far. I know people were harsh on it when it came out. I think it's one that suffered from having a long development time, being delayed multiple times. They certainly probably needed to learn more from the control styles of the 2 games they'd done before, but all things considered, I think it's really good. I think with the reason the animation and the boy and the interaction is so good, I think is because nothing else much is going on, so they can focus on the creature, and a lot of the graphical fidelity has been pumped into
This is you going retro.
That's me going retro. Last Guardian. PlayStation 3. No, I do genuinely want to get some GameCube games back again. I really want Day of Reckoning 2. If anyone's got any cheap GameCube tap, please let me know, or let George know, and he'll let me know.
It's just a wires.
Because I'm a social hermit. What should I be using to play it on the TV? Because multiple people say I should just buy a CRT. You told me not to.
Where have you got the space for that?
I know, exactly.
Right, just make it work with the TV you've got.
Yeah, it's probably going to be better, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was thinking about having it upstairs.
It's
and a little
realistic.
TV.
Or what? When your young child's either asleep and an even younger one's also asleep. Like what's your plan? in the bedroom.
It's just a disaster, isn't it, waiting to happen?
It's a pipe dream.
Pipe dream.
Focus downstairs on the gaming area. Have one or two ready to go. Couple of classic games. You don't need to go nuts. Dip your toe in the water. This is one of the traits of our family. You decide you want to go
All
retro.
in.
Next time I come round, there'll be a CRT strapped on your kid's
Arcade
back like a
machine
shell.
in the
There'll be an
corner.
arcade machine. There'll be every single retro console you can imagine hooked up, ready to go, all gathering dust while you're sat on the internet researching the next game you're going to buy. Okay, that's the devil.
Oh, I'd definitely be a collector. I wouldn't be a player, I think. That's got me written all over
exactly.
it. Other than that, this week, keeping it short and sweet. Try to finish Hades on Heat level 8. Well, it's just so tough. I get to Hades, the final boss, and just can't quite do it. But I'm going to persevere and hopefully get that done. Played some Call of Duty Warzone on Caldera map, as usual. And that's about it.
That's what you're doing online till 2, 3 in the morning on a Friday.
Maybe 1, late enough. And then
I stay up
I have
late.
my little routine.
I
do
stay up
that
late.
and then watch Boba Fett.
It's 2 o'clock.
Big boy, staying up time.
That's why you're grumpy on Saturday morning. Because you haven't had enough sleep.
Okay.
Well, while Mum's is in Tenerife, you stay up till whatever time. It's not acceptable.
Okay.
Is that all you've been playing?
That's all I've been playing.
I don't know how long you've been doing this show. You meant to ask me now, and then I can tell you.
Yes, I was getting to that. I thought you were just going to come in and say.
The awkward silence.
Because you've
made
been
me
very
nervous.
excited.
Well.
What have you been playing this week?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I finished Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Got through all that. 100%ed everything I could do. I couldn't be bothered to do some of the challenges, and I knew I'm going for a new Game Plus playthrough on Ultimate. Done it on PS4.
Yeah.
Started again on PS5. Could have imported the save. I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad I didn't. That payoff at the end is still supreme. And there's little story beats and lines that I didn't notice the first time round that hit even harder this time. I was like, oh man. Ooh. How long have you known? The whole time. And it's like, oh my God, if he knew the whole time, and yet he still did this to someone he kind of viewed as a son or someone who viewed him as a father. Amazing. Spoilers for a 400-year-old game. Absolutely incredible.
It's retro now, really, isn't it?
So well, if Last Guardian is part, I'll tell you what that is. It's part of the PS Plus collection as well, isn't it?
No, it's not, sadly.
Oh, so you had to buy it?
Oh, Last Guardian? Sorry, I thought you meant Spider-Man. No, it's part of the PS Plus collection. That's why I went on there. I was like, the retro shop that I was going to go to was closed. Much disappointment. So I just come back. I was like, oh, what can I play?
Anyway, as the Spider-Man credits are rolling, something's been in the back of my head, needling away for some time now, saying, Star Wars Jedi Force Unleashed.
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Yeah.
Is that the subtitle?
It's what I keep calling it. Calling it the PS3. I
get
go
that,
retro.
I get that.
Okay. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So as the credits were going up on Spider-Man, I thought, right, I'll stick it, because the Spider-Man's a digital version that I've got.
Oh, okay. So
that's what
it's already in the tray.
That's what I go to all the time, because I wait for things to load or download and knock things off on Spider-Man. So in it went. Ba-boomf. It came the upgrade path for PS5. Ba-dumph. Oh, treat myself.
How much did that cost, by the way?
It's free.
Excellent. Even better.
It's downloading. Get into Spider-Man, knock off 10% of the game while I'm waiting for the story. I'm not doing any side bits the second playthrough. And then it popped, and I started playing it. Now, me and James, the work experience boy, had a run through on the PS4 version. That's why there's no save, and the trophies are popping for me again. Which I love. But we didn't get too far. It was frustrating for a young man. I had a go this time on PS5, and I'll tell you what. It's not the best looking game, and it's got some quirks. More than one animal I've stumbled across in a T-pose that's a four-legged creature. But, I'll make excuses for it. It's up on its hind legs looking for me.
Have you seen the Wookiees yet?
They still don't look great, okay? Even the power of a next-gen console can't sort that out. I mean, basically, you're getting a brute force PS4 Pro version, which was behind where the Xbox One X version was. So when that gets back compat, it gets a bit of a higher lift, whereas the PS5 version is being sort of forced brute force through the emulation of the PS4 Pro. It is what it is. Still, what I would say, I didn't think... So Friday night played it until goodness knows what time. Saturday, went to see a friend, took some time out for myself, recalibrate in my mind where we're at with the show, all that. Come back, carry on playing it. This game's owning me.
Owning you as in whooping your ass, or
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
You want to play it though.
Yeah, but I can't get enough of it.
Yes,
and then it was the respawns or the meditation areas and the campfires, and suddenly things started to convalesce in my mind, and it was like, I know this is like Fisher Price, my first Dark Souls, but maybe now I'm ready, because now I understand the whole sort of sacrifice of the respawn, and I understand the sacrifice of doing what you need to do to get to the fires and sort of save or spend your skill points and guard your skill points, because there was a few times where I'm nearly getting up to a skill point and I come across an enemy and I'm like,
shall I gamble?
I need to think now about what I'm going to do. But the game, I rolled with it. There's been a few frustrating times where I've been caught between these campfires, as you call them, and it's been like, but then Sunday night, I just clicked. I just sank into the sofa, and the screen pulled me in, the surround sound, and I was just there. And I've got to the point in time where I've gone back to the one with all the mining on it, the Imperial HQ, where they're mining down.
Yes,
I've gone down and I've faced the second sister, and that little spoiler's been revealed. Yeah. So I'm like, this is really good. I don't think I've got much further to finish it, if I'm honest.
Have you had any flashbacks yet? That's as much as I'll say, because I don't want to spoil anything.
They're all through the game, so you've obviously forgotten. But I don't know. Well, we'll see. But I think it's wonderful. A real charming little piece. It's broken in so many places. The CGI loads and everyone's sort of just popping in, and the cloaks are falling on them as they're sort of loading on the character. And I forgive it all because it's so charming. The relationship with him and that little BD1 robot is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm not like the collecting of the skins and that. I mean, it really makes no difference at all.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you like video games, podcasts, and reminiscing? I'm actor, video game writer, and total sweetie pie Connor Savage McCabe, and on each episode of Call Me By Your Game, I sit down with a guest for an intimate look at a special game from their past. Did you and your dad beat Spyro the Dragon over the holidays? Or was Halo 4 the one thing that united your roommates during your senior year of college? Stories like these are what Call Me By Your Game is about. From video game content creator Janet Garcia to Hades voice actor Courtney Vinay's, I interview wonderful comedians and game industry friends about these memories. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe someday you'll call me by your game.
I don't know. I think it helps us have our own Cal and BD1, isn't it? I think it gives us our own version of them, that we just tweak them a little bit so they don't look as same as our friends. I've always preferred that than full character creation. It's like when we talk about this with Mass Effect, Shepard to me is the Shepard with the shaved head and how he comes out the box, action
Agreed.
man.
Yeah.
And I've never been a big fan of character creation.
To be fair, I've been putting on different... When I go back to Bog...
Oh, yeah, I would like... He'd be wearing that right now.
Yeah, so when I went back to Bogota for the second time, that's whatever the first...
So how many planets have you got?
Dathomir, Kashyyyk, that mining planet, whatever it's called, and that first planet that you start on. I go back there now, seeing it as like a Dagobah. And if you don't have if you go with without the poncho and you're just wearing what looks like Luke's Bespin outfit, I'm there romping around there doing all that. Nice. One thing I would say is I've got a lot of the skills, and I'm quite far in advance of unlocking the different attacks that you can use. But there's one creature on that planet that out of every other creature in the game, I actually fear. And you would think it's a real basic creature. You know when you slide down from when you first go in the temple and then you slide down the mud and at the bottom's this big thing that sticks its tongue out at you.
Yeah. Like a frog type creature.
Mate. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Every time. In an open space, fine. But there was one in a room that I wanted a collectible in that you can drop down on.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, in that tight space every single time.
Yeah.
Although it took me quite a long time to realise that what has made the game, one of the things that clicked was locking onto a character. Without lock-on, the camera is all over the place. So
See, sometimes I find with lock-on, if we're going Souls combat, like Sekiro, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, or any of those, Bloodborne, sometimes I find certain bosses or enemies I'll use the camera lock on, others I won't because I need to run almost towards the camera or run at a faster pace and not strafing and circling.
Well,
so I don't know how you found that.
It was finding the lock on, because normally you're fighting like a group of stormtroopers and you lock on and it's like, oh God, I need to fight them all.
Yeah.
But when you're in a one-on-one situation with one of the purge troopers or with a boss, lock-on has saved my baby.
Oh yeah. In the one-on-one fight,
because
I see your point.
you then are able to focus. When you dodge, you're still facing them.
Yeah.
So you don't lose time in between hits to get the hits back in when your window opens. So there's me question.
Yes.
It's time, isn't it? Once I've got Force Unleashed finished, it's time.
What for? Demon Souls.
Yeah. The remake.
As much as I love it, I don't know where it's the best one to start on because in Demon Souls...
Well, I'm going to start on the PS3 Demon Souls then, I'm sorry.
No, don't do that.
What is
if
what?
You're
What?
if you're going to play...
It's the Last Guardian,
if you're going to play, you've got that lovely PS5 with one of the most stunning games made and you go and play the PS3 version. That I don't understand. Anyway, Demon Souls, when you go to a boss on a lot of the later Souls games, or even probably from 2, 3 and Sekiro, the point of getting from the fire or whatever it is, the totem, whatever they're using in that particular game, to get to the boss is usually not too bad. In Demon Souls, I was like, why is there no shortcuts to the bosses? And I read, and it's like, that's the way it was designed.
That's right.
And I find it way more punishing. The bosses are easier, but the journey to them is a lot harder, I found. But I finished it, so it can't be that difficult. I'm not amazing at video games by any stretch of the imagination. And Sekiro was way harder in terms of the bosses. Like a lot of the Demon Soul bosses, I probably lost to them 3 or 4 times. And also if you're struggling, you just summon someone in if it's available. That really helps, like newcomers. We're going to talk about it briefly in the news, but I've managed to convince some friends, hopefully, to get Elden Ring.
They're going to hate you. They
probably will.
They're normally casual players who play FIFA and Battlefield.
Yeah.
And now you're going to serve them up Elden Ring.
They will be my Operation Human Shield. Boys, go in, do what damage you can to the dragon. It'd be a bit like something out of Monty Python, the Holy Grail. Just send them in. They're just like slaughtered on the floor.
I can't believe you've convinced these 2 random innocents in the village to buy a 70 quid game.
No, it's 50, isn't it? It's not a
sorry.
big book.
Sorry, it's fine. Guys, you can afford it now. It's only 20 quid back at your back burner. To basically lay down as your human meat shield.
Exactly.
Well, with that rather interesting news, I mean, whoever thought there's me signing up for tackling through all the Souls games? Probably not going to happen, to be fair. I remember making a New Year's resolution where I was going to finish Persona 5.
Forget that. I think you should also jump in on Elden Ring. I think that is the best place for a newcomer to start.
How the hell can you qualify that? You've never played it. You don't know what it's like. Stop talking now. We scoured the very darkest reaches of the internet.
Previews have read. Previews.
Oh, right. I read a preview about marriage, but it wasn't true. We scoured the very darkest reads of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up, have a bite of this apple. Here's a crazy rumour to start the week. It was mentioned by Windows Central reporter Jez Corden, huge friend of the show.
You know, Jez, whenever you read a news bit from Jez Corden or a rumour, I instantly think it's just James Corden.
Is this a rumour?
Not quite.
We don't do leaks and we don't do rumours on the unofficial.
With your attire you've got on at the minute, and doing that, you remind me of a young Dick Van Dyke.
It's so cold in the manor. I have to, when I get up in the morning, I can see my breath.
You look like you're about to commit a choke slam.
So I've got fingerless, no joke, serious, straight up. The manor is so cold. I'm wearing, and what with this rumoured heating thing that's going, I'm nervous.
Energy bills.
Yes.
Oh,
it's all right for you when you're tucked up in your glass PVC jar. But here, I have to get up in the morning. I can't even think in the morning, it's that cold. I can see my breath. There's no one to bring me tea. There's nothing. I have my fingerless gloves on. I've got a hat on. I have to wear a poncho in the gaming room so I don't die.
I feel so bad for you when I'm out there creating firewood for Ponsonbury Manor.
Anyway, here's a crazy rumour to start off the week. It was mentioned by Windows Central reporter Jez Cord, a big friend of the show, on the latest episode of the Xbox 2 podcast. Apple might be poaching Xbox engineers to make its own game console. Jez says he's been hearing this for a while, although he admits the source on the information isn't the best. He has, just as Tom likes it, rumours and leaks. He has no concrete details or proof, and even if it is true, he doesn't know if Apple are still pursuing the idea. He speculated during the discussion about which company would really want to compete with console makers, potentially Apple, and at that level right now, suggesting the real answer is Chinese tech giant Tencent. Now, we'll get to that, because obviously the big news this week, Microsoft buy Activision for an awful lot of money, more money than I've got. And there you go. And that name Tencent, I want you to keep that in the forefront of your minds. It's going to be important when we get there, because this is not, believe it or not, as much as you want to make it out to be, this is not a Sony versus Xbox fight. We'll get there. We'll get there. It's controversial. We'll get there.
Next
What
up.
do you think about Apple buying a console? Making a console?
Shall we discuss it in the feature, or do you want a quick...
Yeah, because Apple have also got the hat in the ring, so that's again one of the reasons.
We'll get to that in the feature. I think there's some meat to chew there. George's Ring is gold. Shelve your cynicism. Elden Ring will release on the 25th of February for PlayStation 5 and PS4. The game has originally been scheduled to launch last year. It's also available on Xbox series of consoles, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. No random exclusive deal just suddenly done overnight.
I wondered why, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know why that it's the news article on Push Square listed it like that, probably because it's a PlayStation site. The game had originally been scheduled to launch last year, but was pushed back into 2022 to allow a little more time for polish. Now that the hotly anticipated action RPG is locked in, as developer From Software has confirmed that the game has gone gold. For those unfamiliar with the industry lingo, going gold is an important milestone in a game's development because it essentially means that a master version has been rendered and now will be printed onto Blu-ray Stingray discs and submitted to platform holders like Sony for publishing on the PS Store and Xbox Store. Historically, this meant development was over, but in this modern era, teams typically continue work on a day one patch. That's exactly what's happening with Elden Ring. Please be assured the title will be ready for the sale on the 25th of Feb. From Software's Yashuri Kyoto said as part of Tapai Game Show presentation, which I watched today, was interesting. The master version has already been submitted, he said, and right now the team is working on a day one patch to make sure everything in the game is just so. Excited for that?
It depends how my experience goes over the next month or so.
Please get it.
No.
You're going to be playing as Aloy with a bow instead.
Is that an issue for you?
No, because I'll be doing the same, but then I'll just drop that game like a bad habit as soon as Elden Ring's out, sadly. As good as it'll probably be.
As I said to you off air, you talk all this. You talk all the talk. But the reality that you find yourself in the moment is very different to the I'm a bigger boy gamer talk that you're giving it now.
Do you think I'll play Elden Ring, get scared, and then just come back on
No, I
Horizon
don't
because
think
it's
you'll
easy?
get scared. I think you'll be intimidated by the level of dedication that it requires. Whereas you'll get Horizon just requires you not to get too good at the game. So it's forgiving enough once you've leveled up a little bit.
Maybe so.
And I also
Do you
think
think
you're
that's a
desperate for
mistake?
something to showcase your games with, your machine with.
Look at this. Look at those graphics.
Yeah.
Very guilty of that. Do you think that's a bad decision on Sony's part to release Horizon so close to Elden Ring? Or do you think they're two?
I think they're just two totally different games. But
I think the fan base is probably slight. I know quite a few people who are getting both, but overall, I think
I
don't think it would damage sales
and take this
that
however
much.
you like.
Yeah.
I actually think it's probably more damaging for Elden Ring to release in the Horizon window.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're a PlayStation gamer and you're halfway between dedicated, a lot of people don't like those Souls games.
No, I actually know Souls fans who aren't actually keen of it going more open world. They said it will detract from the more tighter design of the originals, and probably for some people they're not going to like it, but for a lot it's what they've wanted. Anyway, on to the last bit of news. What we got, mate?
I took an arrow in the knee. The Elder Scrolls 6 is
Again.
seemingly still in pre-production phase. The new information come courtesy of Bethesda HR employee's LinkedIn profile, a screenshot of which you can find. Where did we get this? LinkedIn. The developer's profile, spotted by several Bethesda fans, specifically notes that the development studio is still in pre-production phase of Elder Scrolls 6. This shouldn't come as a surprise, all things considered. Bethesda Starfield is its first new IP in over 2 decades, is still over 9 months away from releasing in November later this year. Tom's prediction it's getting delayed, but we'll see. So it makes sense the developer is all hands on deck to wrap up Starfield first before moving on. Over the past few years, ever since the Elder Scrolls 6 was first unveiled by Bethesda, news has been incredibly scant. Post-Microsoft acquisition, the new RPG is reportedly being planned as an Xbox console exclusive, something that Xbox boss Phil Spencer hinted at the back end of November last year. It doesn't surprise me. Elder Scrolls needs to be good, and by that I mean there were elements of Skyrim where, as someone who played Morrowind, there was bits of Morrowind still in that game.
Yeah.
And I watched a documentary about Fallout 76, and when they stumbled across code dating back to the early 90s on the game's engine had been iterated upon, iterated on, and then they were going to make that was part of the reason why they had to start from scratch with Fallout 76, because by the time they pulled that code apart, they realised there was not one thing in there they could use for a multiplayer experience.
Yeah.
So then they had to make their own. Then they had to make it look like a game that was made in that engine, which is difficult. And then,
definitely.
Yada, 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 the story goes on. What a car crash. So there's absolutely no way on a 4K machine that really Elder Scrolls 6, with all that topography mapping that they've been doing and things like that, where they've been photographing real areas to get the textures and all that, real world locations that they're going to bring in game. And if you want a live city, and if you want a game that looks like it's a modern game, they had to start again.
I think like GTA 6, I think Elder Scrolls 6 is also potentially 3 to 4 years away.
More. I wonder as well, is Starfield a test base for the new engine, or is Starfield the last shined up shine of the Skyrim engine, maxed
It
out at
depends
4K?
whether, I don't think we know yet whether Starfield is cross-gen. If it's cross-gen, I feel like it'll be the older engine. If it's new-gen, it will be
Possibly the test.
the test for what is to come.
Seemingly, apart from the apology, no community corrections this week. Flawless victory.
Very nice.
No worries. Voice artist, if you ever need anything, answer phone message,
Birthday greeting.
birthday greeting, bar mitzvah. Oh, no. Bit edgy. We don't do edgy and we don't do rooms on the Unofficial Controller podcast. Anyway, did we miss anything? Do you have an opinion or take on the news we missed? If so, Tom, how do the Collective Masses get in contact with us and let us know that we probably got it wrong, or they want to be on the show, or they've got an opinion they want read
I'd love
read
someone
out?
to message in and say, can I be on the show, please? That'd be great.
Dude, what the hell? Send me all the invites. Send me all the invites. while Tom is blissfully unaware, sending SMS texts from his Nokia brick because he doesn't do social media. As he found out last week, he says these things and disappears into the ether, and then wonders why I get upset. How would they get in contact and let us know that they want Kai Soy's head on a stick, or possibly they want some avocado press A?
Well, either of those things, you can message us on Instagram or Twitter. You can also email us on questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com, or you can reach us on the Discord chat.
Yes. And the wonderful community that's developed around this show, which is the crown jewel of this business. That is the crown jewel of this show. And without them, it'd be a very, very small wrestling venue. Even smaller than that. No, smaller.
We'd just be dust in the wind, dude.
We would. We've arrived at the feature, which is Microsoft's acquisition of Activision. I'm glad I slowed down, because that was word soup waiting to happen, wasn't it?
Activision Blizzard.
Don't forget Blizzard. All right.
The best bit of Activision.
Yeah. I'm sure.
You do know that I've managed to shoehorn in this and say this is what we need to do as a feature, because it's massive news in gaming. Last week it was just exploding, people saying all sorts of things. I just look and see Blizzard. What game do they make? Overwatch 2. I better get this in the show. Now my true intent has been revealed.
Like a tripwire in the grass. We're not talking about Overwatch 2 today. We're talking about, and we're not even really talking about Xbox buying Activision. Because,
well,
wait.
Okay.
Journalistic hat on.
You've done some digging, which was impressive.
It's bigger than anyone realises. This isn't Star Trek the original series. That's what we've been enjoying to this point. Games from developers on consoles, happy, what we know, the business hasn't changed since the Pong clone crawled out the loft and showed itself to me as a child. Okay? That's still fundamentally the same business. This is the line in the sand. This is gaming the next generation. Now, for good reasons and bad, things are about to get a little bit weird. So, Microsoft, if you read this at surface level, you'd be, I'm a Sony gamer, this isn't acceptable, I'm losing COD. I'm a Sony gamer, this is unacceptable, I've already lost Fallout, Elder Scrolls, all that. Wait, calm down, okay? Sorry to say, Sony ain't got the money for this fight. If anything, they're going to end up a bit boutique. Now, I like Sony, and I like the games, and I'm happy with the boutique console. I'm fine.
You like boutique?
I like boutique. But this is the major dogs scrapping. This was Microsoft throwing its wallet around because Tencent have been pulling publishers and developers off the table like a starving kid, sweets out of a Lucky Jar. And that's made them nervous. Add to that, Netflix, which...
You had your full Deerstalker on when I came in. You were like, you need to see about Tencent. They are a Chinese-based company. Look at what they own. Tell us more about
we'll get there.
Okay.
So, Tencent are there, Netflix are there. Netflix have probably got the sort of subscriptions that Microsoft would love to see on Games Pass.
Absolutely.
In the short term, Microsoft get to bolster Games Pass with some cracking titles. Okay? There is no doubt about that. And yeah, they've secured some legacy PlayStation characters. It's a poke in the eye. In fact, if you're Sony right now, you're probably wondering where you're going to stop bleeding from. You don't know what this all is. But don't panic, all right? You're going to be okay, gamers. We'll help you with this. Microsoft thumb in the eye of PlayStation happened as an accident as they went to try and knock Tencent out. This is not a nice fight.
Sony's like the guy who just was like, break it up, guys.
Yeah.
Xbox gone for that knockout blow after a few too many tinnies, and Sony's gone, that stung a bit.
And it's about securing the studios and the games right now for the digital battlefield of tomorrow. Tencent already owns percentages percentages in, well, they own Riot Games, they've got percentages in Epic Games, they've large percentages as well. They've Turtle Rock Studios, they've got shares in Ubisoft, shares in Platinum Games. By association, they've got shares in From Software, Remedy, Roblox, Playtonic Games. They've even got the finger in Discord as well. I mean, who hasn't at this point?
Yeah.
One would imagine Tencent are probably 2 or 3 digits in. They're like a leper at a cookery course. It's not good. Right? Netflix, rumoured, well, they've already got mobile games you can play through the mobile browser on your phone. That's going to anger Apple, because Apple wants to take 10% of everything that happens on that app, on an app in their store. When people lock games away in an app, Apple get furious, hence the whole Fortnite thing. They weren't getting a share of the digital transactions that were taking place on Fortnite Mobile, so they killed it. Right? Makes sense. Couple that with today's news of Apple, who already have so much market penetration. Microsoft makes a lot of money. Apple make a hell of a lot of money. Apple have got the digital wallet for this scrap. Someone who hasn't, Sony. So they need to act smart, move sharp, do what it takes. This console war, they're probably going to do well again. They're still forecast to outsell Microsoft 2-1. That's going to put them in a good place on hardware sales. It's also going to have an attach rate of their first-party games. Wonderful. That's the fight. They know how to fight. It's the fight. They know how to win. What's happening in next year's digital battleground? Who knows? Now, Activision Blizzard, they were acquired for 70 billion. That's a lot of change, Tom.
Certainly is.
Before we go, well, let's also say, within the last 12 months, they spent, and now this seems like a deal, okay, these deals get considerably better as time moves on. Bethesda, they bought for 7.5 billion. Mojang, they bought for 2.5 billion. That's Minecraft. Now, we did a Minecraft episode, and while researching it, Microsoft decided they'd spent so much on Mojang, call him what you like, Notch's baby, that they needed a 100-year game plan. Seriously, they've got a 100-year business plan for Minecraft. Who does that? That's like traveling. That's like traveling to the next. That's like traveling to Alpha Centauri, and you're sending a couple away. You've got to have babies while you're there, and then your babies need to also know how to fly this thing, and then their babies are going to need to know how to land it. Like, this is pie in the sky stuff. So they bought Mojang 2.5 billion. I don't know however many centuries they're planning on working back the 70 billion for Activision. No disrespect to anyone out there, they're not earning that money back from Games Pass.
Yeah.
All right, that's just a well. And we said off air, if it takes 150 million to make a AAA game, they're going to need to round up all this money again just to get their first wave of exclusives out. But couple that in with the fact that Microsoft acquired Rare for 375 million all those years ago. That now seems like a pretty good deal. Felt expensive at the time.
Yeah, it does.
Now we've set the scene, and we've kind of skewed this, hopefully in a journalistic fashion, to let you know where we think this is at. Now, it's very easy to get in the playground. Xbox gamers, they've had it for quite some time. You got no games. You got no games. You got your Sony pony. You got no games. And this is one of those great days where you wake up as an Xbox owner, you look at your phone and go, yes, you got no games. And it's that
Uncle Bill's come down, gone, you want some? I'll give it you.
I'll give it you. Right. Now, this was one of the predictions in our predictions episode, as Bobo over mentioned, so that could be in the corrections. You said that this would happen. And we said that Uncle Bill was going to rummage around for a couple of billion here or there. No, I think I said it. No, you said it, sadly. No, so yes! Have you had your teeth whitened?
No, I just got some different polish.
Have you back to black your beard?
Full time travel going on.
Well, you've lost a bit of weight as well, haven't you?
Retro gaming. I wanted to bring back my 25-year-old self.
When you walked in today, I did actually think that you've had some work done. You look way younger than normal. I don't know whether last week's Kai Soy gate...
It rejuvenates me. When I go for the... Well, we mustn't say that because he...
Just stop.
Yeah, just stop.
Talk to me now about this.
Talk to me now.
Tell me where you're at. It was a good day if you're on the surface an Xbox gamer. It was a bad day if you're on the surface a PlayStation gamer. I think underneath the surface, the real takeaway for this is if Microsoft hadn't done something, gaming would have been massively
Well, like
changed.
a man running into a burning building for his child, the only concern I had was getting my child Overwatch 2 to safety. So I was just Googling everything I could to do to find out about if Overwatch 2 will still come to PlayStation and Switch.
There's me for the show trying to get the real story, trying to understand what the real story is.
I am impressed by the amount of research you put into this one. It's very interesting. I will say, I don't think it was that shocking. We always sort of thought they would make a big acquisition again. But I don't think it's as bad for Sony gamers as they've made out. I think this will be a different acquisition to Bethesda. I think they're going to go with... I honestly think, you know what will happen? I think they will go for Games Pass on PlayStation and Games Pass on Switch. I think that's their ultimate goal. To get that digital app out there as soon as they can. Netflix is available on pretty much everything other than your dishwasher. I think that's the way they want to go.
No, agreed. And this move is part of bolstering that, because today you play on your console. In 10 years' time, as you say, there'll be a Games Pass app for your TV. Now, Nintendo and Sony probably want to stick to what they know. Is that going to make them dinosaurs over time? Yes, but there's a certain clientele of characters that like to collect blue things with shiny things in. That's me.
Exactly, I completely agree, and we discussed this at the start of the show, but the problem we found with that is when we started discussing AAA games cost somewhere in the realm of £150 million to make. That's a rough average. You can't do that with a niche market. So Sony and Nintendo will have to dip their toe into this water at some point or make some kind of alternative. I think Xbox are looking at the 100-year plan. They're looking at the 25, 30-year plan. Sony and Nintendo are just kind of like, they probably do have a plan, but we've got to, all these people infuriate me as well about saying Sony needs to make a Games Pass equivalent. Sony needs to stop charging £70 for their games. They can't afford to. They are a tiny company compared to Microsoft, and this is the whole point we're raising. This is not a battle between Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. This is a battle between Microsoft and the big boys, the bigger boys.
It's a fight that only Microsoft have got a wallet to go in.
Yeah.
And one would imagine if they spent 70.5 billion, getting on for nearly 80 billion on acquisitions, not seen a return yet for Uncle Bill's money. Uncle Phil, cousin Phil, he can spend it like water.
No,
right? But he's trying to secure. It's not even a first blow. It's a hat in the ring of tomorrow's digital battleground.
Yeah.
This isn't even. This is it. Tencent could rock up tomorrow, and I mean, I feel like the 70 billion was a warning shot, but also more of a we need to take these off the table now, because if we don't do it now and they get picked up there, we'll never get them.
You got to remember, it is basically just one big game of Monopoly.
Yeah.
And Microsoft have just picked up Old Kent Road.
Yeah.
No, we'll go with somewhere mid-table, I think, for Activision. I mean, Activision earn a lot of money through Call of Duty and Blizzard, obviously World of Warcraft, not Diablo, Overwatch, etc.
There's some other things in there, though. Don't forget. Included
There's some random Activision
Tony
titles.
Hawk's.
Sekiro was actually published by Activision, which I didn't realise until I did a bit of research. I think from what I've read from Big Phil is he's actually trying to be pretty good with Sony gamers. He's like, we don't want to take these things away from other communities, which is a nice sentiment. Whether that's backed up in real life, I don't know.
Well, you kind of said that during the bus. I mean, if you were Phil, you would probably try and have your cake and eat it. You would try and lock them down. But there are exclusivity deals that Activision have already signed that probably need to be on it. Now, whether that's for a generation, whether that's 12 months, whether Sony had the forethought to do, I mean, quite why you'd want to do a 100 deal.
I think anything announced, we will see on PlayStation and potentially Switch if it was coming to that anyway. That's why I don't have much concern really with Overwatch 2. I think it will come to the other consoles. There's two bigger communities who will buy it. on the subject of that, I'm really happy in some regard that Microsoft have actually picked Activision Blizzard up, because I'm hoping they will see Overwatch through. After all the bad press, we need to talk about Activision Blizzard's bad press that they've been having with... hopefully Phil can come in and lay the law down like the new sheriff in town and say, we're not going to put up with that. We want to get rid of anything involved with anyone involved in those situations. Clean slate. I think it's good for the company. It's a very good start to turn a new leaf.
If Phil and Bill acquired the show,
Yeah.
you'd be
I'd be gone.
Yeah, you're
100%.
toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am. I would definitely be leaving with a nice big fat paycheck, though, like the boss from Activision Blizzard's rumoured too.
Did you know, I didn't include this in the news, but I did throw it up on the Discord in the week to try and change the narrative.
And ban me.
No.
Okay.
You're not. To try and change the narrative,
Cancel me.
Bobby Kotick actually tried to buy several
several
gaming websites to try and turn pro Activision stories
Sounds
out.
a bit like a Vince McMahon move, doesn't it, that one?
It sounds pretty dirty, to be honest. That's him done. But with the money that he probably makes as a yearly salary and the payout he's going to get, he's probably do all right. He's probably got shares. He's probably got shares as part of his remuneration package. If he hasn't, he's nuts, and he's not nuts. Well, he is nuts, but not in a financial point of view. So he's going to do well out of this.
Big Phil's sending him to meet Kai Soy, isn't he? Definitely.
He's like Voldemort.
Yeah.
The imaginary character that must never be spoken of.
Okay. He who must not be named.
Yes.
Okay. I like that. Anyway, back to the positives, but first we need to talk about one negative that implements a positive. When these big acquisitions happen, sadly, because if a business isn't being run to its full potential, I hate to say it, the two things that usually happen is there are redundancies and there are cutbacks. These things happen. It's just business. So something nice that has happened out of this, though, I'm going to struggle for examples, but it does happen. A lot of these studios that are eaten up by the big boys, people who leave or choose to leave or are fired, whatever happens, a lot have gone on to set up smaller studios, which have then gone on to produce some decent games, and it's just keeping the development market alive. We forget all the big studios.
Well, it's a nice time to redistribute probably some employees that are fed up of.
Yeah,
I've talked about
yearly
this before.
updates.
Yearly updates, like what you're doing. Well, I don't want to get
Price's mustache.
I don't want to get carried away.
Price
But I was
first.
going to do this new idea. No. Price first. You're doing Captain Price's mustache. We want that rendered in 4K.
Yeah.
We want live hair, reaction to the wind. We want everything. We want you to work on
Cigar
the LED
yellowing.
light. Yeah, cigar yellowing. We want you to work on the red LED light on that night vision goggle. That's your job for a year. Like, no, thank you.
That's another rumour. They're talking about potentially ditching the yearly update for Call of Duty. I think out of anything, if PlayStation keeps anything, it'll be Warzone.
I think that's all that matters now.
You're potentially right. I think Vanguard has had poor sales. I think they'll look at that and think, why do people buy this? Warzone. It's free to play. Okay, let's focus on how Fortnite run there, like battle passes and stuff. Don't get me wrong, like I thoroughly enjoyed Modern Warfare, like the redo that came out a couple of years ago. I'd probably buy a sequel if it came out. I don't know where I'd maybe wait for a sale. I enjoyed it enough to play a sequel. But overall, like Vanguard, it didn't even pique my interest in terms of wanting to buy it. I was just happy we're getting a new map on Warzone, which I've played. But yeah, I actually don't think this acquisition is that bad for the industry. I think it's really interesting what you've highlighted.
Well, I'll tell you from my point of view, haven't played a COD in years. Don't play Overwatch. Don't play Diablo. I mean, I went through, I was like, oh my goodness, that's a big buy. Then it was like, well, that doesn't really matter.
Actually, yeah.
I don't play any of these games. Now, that's not... I know loads of you do, and I know that for that reason there's probably some Sony gamers that are like, well, I'm nervous, I'm not going to be able to look at Captain Price's moustache ever again. Don't worry. You're going to be all right. They can't... seeing COD come from multi-platform, I'm not sure. I think they're probably going to try and lock down some of the in-game maps. Obviously, someone like Sony historically would have made a lot of money from in-game purchases. 10% of the 1% that's coming through is yours, and therefore that revenue stream is tasty. If that was then, that throat was slit on Sony's platform, you know, and that money then rediverted to Big Phil and Bill, that might just be enough money to let Rare develop a new hat for Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's good news for Games Pass in the short term. It's probably bad news in the short term for Sony, but where will Sony be in 10 years' time? Will there be a PS6? Or will it be like the Mega Drive? Obviously a lot more successful than Sega, and that's why I think they're going to have a little bit more longevity in the game. Will they be sort of the bigger boys Nintendo? Yeah, I think that's where they'll be.
Yeah.
They'll still be making
They've
good
got
money.
enough history like Nintendo now. I think if you were talking and this had happened in the PS2 era, in a different playing field, I know, but if this had happened then, they didn't have the legacy that would carry them through. The thing is with Nintendo, they have a generation that have grown up with them, so will always be loyal to it. And I'll always want to play a Zelda game, don't get me wrong. But they did a very good job of recruiting a younger age group with the Switch. But they've got that legacy to fall back on. I think that's the same with Sony now. They've got enough strong IPs, strong characters. People are familiar with their way.
In-house owned studios that can seemingly, so far for Sony, touch wood for them, seem to be able to knock it out of the park every time they put pen to paper.
Yeah, I mean, there's very, very strong rumours now. Obviously, they're potentially losing Call of Duty. Sony probably knew about this deal a little bit before anyone else. Maybe they didn't, but I guarantee they will be working on, or they need to be, a very good first-person shooter.
Rumor.
Is this Devotion games?
Tooling up.
Yeah.
For something. Now, I think that's probably they knew they had a hole, because people have always said the hole in the arsenal is that they haven't got an FPS. All they are is third-person action games. True. Very true.
Yeah, I think they do need a strong...
And they haven't had an FPS that's really been... They've probably never had a significant FPS. They had...
Killzone.
Killzone is an interesting game. Resistance was a good series. I think the one that really slipped away was Massive Action Game, that literally was Battle Royale before even the idea was even thought of. But sadly, due to Sony's PSN outage, it came out... launched the day...
Oh, no.
Online only.
Is this when it got hacked?
When Sony got hacked.
Yeah.
That happened the day Mag launched. And it went on...
Now, Holmes, surely that is not coincidence. You'll have to get
Uncle
your
Bill
pickers on
I'll
for
have
that,
to
won't
get
you?
Uncle Bill's in the background. Just updating your server, Ken. Oh, what's that? That massive game-changing game that you're coming out with that was actually going to end up being the way people play games in the future. Sorry about that. I spilt my almond latte in the... I spilt my almond latte on your network board, and it's redundant.
It's fried.
It's fried. You're done.
Also, a lot of your customers have been hacked.
They've all been hacked. So there's that they've got history, and they've had some solid stabs, but one now probably thinks they need to really. But do they need an FPS? It's like,
I think yes, yeah, I think they do. I was thinking about this the other day.
Rather than an FPS where it's like multiplayer and all that, I would probably prefer to see BioShock. I don't see BioShock as a first-person shooter. Yes, it probably comes down dressed as a first-person shooter, but it's a first-person story game with shooting elements. That sounds like I've described the same game, but it is a very different style of playing.
I think what we'll probably get is a multiplayer FPS, but what I was hoping for is something strong in similar vein of like a espionage FPS game, something very story-driven, Half-Life-esque even.
Yeah, Half-Life, BioShock, anything like that.
Something like that I think would be great, but I think we'll get more of a... You forget, but Microsoft now own Call of Duty, Halo, Doom. That's some pretty big hitters in the FPS genre.
Well, one would say the NWO Wolfpack of FPSs, really.
Yeah. Anyway, Hogan's come in, leg dropped Sony and Nintendo. Listen to the crowd.
That-
I want to know
Yeah.
if we get Games Pass on the PS, would you get it? Would you get a yearly subscription?
No. As I said before, we have a Series S in the house, and a lot of the stuff that I see on there really is like the bulk, the fill is the 360 era exclusives.
Yeah.
And I've had my stuff. I've had my fill of those, and all you
Yeah.
can eat buffet of that. I'm full. Some of the more interesting titles like Grounded, Forza Horizon 5, the new Halo. Like maybe if something launches that piques my interest, I'll maybe get a month here and a month there. But
Can you buy it as individual monthly things, or is it you've got to?
you got to be able to.
Yeah, I'd have thought you would.
All right. In the meantime, I'm happy with the Series S just chugging away, doing its thing. Would I want to then? Do I want that experience on the bigger boy TV downstairs? I don't know. If they keep buying up studios and doing things, the thing is, what I want. I don't want COD. That's not the reason I would get Games Pass. I don't want Overwatch. That's not enough of a reason. Starfield, I'll be intrigued by.
Yeah.
It's what they do with this other stuff. You know, they've got the initiative. What's going on?
I do wonder where they've got. Well, they will have, like we discussed before, like a business plan. But have they got similar to Sony, where they've gone right, all got all the studios together and gone? We need to get a release schedule of like one a month, even for a year, or one every quarter.
I don't even know if that's a business model that works for a subscription model. That's something that works for you to go down the shop, the event of
true.
going and getting a game.
Yeah,
I
very
don't
good
even
point.
know. You see, we're all too busy as gamers fighting the fight from the PS3 era and the Xbox 360 of our consoles and games get sold.
Yeah.
They don't get sold really like that now.
No.
It's not the event. And when was the last time you queued at Asda at midnight?
Yeah, I think now a lot of people will just be like, I would rather sit at home and click pre-download than they click finish download, pay for purchase, boom, it's on your machine, or obviously it'll be on your Games Pass when you wake up in the morning. It's the equivalent in some ways of having the argument with people who are like, cinema's dead, I don't want to ever go to cinema again in my life. I'd rather just watch it at home. That's great if you've got a home cinema or you're happy just doing that, but I will always want to go to the cinema. And I think the same can be said about
Getting a
how it
physical
could,
game and
how
playing
it could,
on a machine.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it stings sometimes when you're paying 70 quid for a game, but I'd also argue I haven't actually paid £70 for any of my games. I've been close, but certainly that £70 price point is thrown around an awful lot, when really if you shop around you can find it cheaper.
Exactly.
And we really need to discuss, like, games developers aren't charities. They cost a lot of money to
None
make
of these
these
people
games.
are. Microsoft obviously aren't. Microsoft's obviously made some money out of cloud and Windows 6.5 or whatever it is they're on with now, because they've just blown nearly 100 billion.
Here's a point of... Go back to cinema. Cinema ticket costs £15 average, unless you find a nice cheaper one. That's 2 to 3 hours of content. Video game costs you £70. A lot of the games you get in 40, 50 hours. That's why it costs that much.
Yeah.
And that's cheap considering.
Well, I was playing...
Don't get me wrong, I don't want to see them go any more expensive because inflation is bad enough at the moment, but...
If you think about Spider-Man,
Yeah.
the movie,
Yes.
2 hours.
Uh-huh.
You play Spider-Man as I've been doing. I use this as an example.
Yeah.
You're swinging through New York, looks incredible.
Yeah.
All right, you land down on the ground, there's people walking around, taxis, horns, when I have it on the surround sound in the manor. You're there. It's absolutely wonderful. When you whip through a tree, you hear it behind you.
Yeah.
Amazing. That's kind of costs. Every single element of that could be edited down and be in a Spider-Man movie. It's that good. The characters, the acting, the whole bag of tricks. That's worth that money. You don't just get to watch Spider-Man, you get to be him for damn this 40 hours if you want to max it out.
Yeah.
That's why it's a fair price. but it does cost them a lot to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've hit your nail on the head there.
Any final thoughts, because we got a little off track there, of the acquisition?
No, like I say, I think it's not as... Originally, when I saw the news, I was like, oh my God, that's a massive blow for Sony. And
are Sony gearing up for a fight that they're not in if they do this Project Spartacus and come out? Because that's only going to hurt their bottom line. What they need to do right now is double down and protect the bottom line. If you ask me, Project Spartacus, aka Sony's Games Pass, needs to go in the bin.
Yeah, scrap it. I don't see the need to do it when your consoles are still selling out.
And outselling.
You've potentially got... We forget about PSVR 2. That's potentially a big hitter coming. They've got some great first-party titles lined up. The console's great. I really enjoy it. You get your PS Plus games. You've got to look past... I was saying this to my friend who's like, that's it. I'm going straight to going to get an Xbox Series X or S. It's like, if that's what you want to do, dude, do it. Because we'll have Discord. And the games we play, you can play cross-play. So it doesn't bother me. And I think that's great for a lot of friendship groups where now more of you can play on which console you want to play your exclusives on, but you can just play your multiplayers on either of them. And I think that needs to happen more, and I think it will happen more.
I totally missed the game I was playing, by the way. What? I messed up.
God.
I've been playing SnowRunner.
Okay.
The Dark Souls of driving games. I'm not joking.
How many loads have you lost?
I've fulfilled like one load. Took me hours.
Okay. That's right up your street there. You'd probably want to do the full journey across the Antarctic.
I was frustrated because my vehicles were so pony. They were getting stuck in...
grass verge.
On a grass verge.
Nice.
But we've got somewhere. We've leveled up.
Okay.
But anyway, that was the wrong place.
I also want to pick your
time.
brain, which we'll just talk about before we close the feature.
Well, should we close? Let's close the feature.
Yeah, let's close the feature. Hopefully we've covered some points that many of you weren't aware of, or if we've missed loads of...
Where can they continue this conversation?
Yes, please come and continue the conversation with George on the Discord and lots of other like-minded gamers. Xbox fans, Switch fans, PlayStation fans.
Play nice.
Google Stadia fans.
Hopefully we've been able to...
Oh, now. Sorry, just before we close. It did make me chuckle when they were like, yeah, well, the bigger boys, I mean, they want to come in, your Googles, your Apples, and like, Google, yeah, the ones who brought the Stadia out, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure.
It's a sleeping...
dragon.
It's a sleeping dragon. It's already infiltrated everywhere, all right? Although, whoever it was who sent me a link of a Stadia in a box, 25 quid, let's do something. Let's make it happen. I think I want a Stadia.
It's sleeping like Smog sleeps at the bottom of the city of Dale.
Smaug.
However you want to say it.
Yours is like a fully loaded cheese board, a smorgasbord.
Smog.
Smorgasbord. Right, that's
very
that.
Good. That's the feature.
Okay.
Boom, done.
What were you going to tell me?
So as you know, we're usually checking out game trailers and news in the week. I just wanted to ask your thoughts on a game that's been delayed. Lego Star Wars, The Skywalker Saga.
Oh, stop it, please.
I actually watched that trailer and was like, wow.
I have no... yeah, it sort of interests me. It looks cool, but I'll be honest with you, I have no interest in that. It'd be like you showing me a trailer for COD. Unless it was like, kick their asses back to the fatherland.
What do you not like about it? Is it like seeing the game you dream of, but then realising they've done it in Lego?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I felt.
All right, I don't want to... If it was a really tight narrative game where you just basically did what you saw on the screen in the film and you had the whole Skywalker... I don't know if I want all the Skywalker saga, but certainly the Lucas Skywalker saga. I would love it. You could play through as Han, so it includes Solo and then into New Hope, Empire and Return of the Jedi. If you play as Luke, Obi-Wan's in 1, 2, 3 and 4. So you've got all the different characters you can play as. It would be really cool. The fact that's limited to a Lego game. Now I love Lego. If someone could see one of the rooms in Ponsonbury Manor, it looks like a brick ball pool, and then you realise it's all Lego bricks and things are a bit OTT. Classic me and you. You're getting into retro gaming. I get into Lego. Ridiculous.
It's pouring out the windows.
It's pouring out the windows.
Okay, yeah, I agreed. I think it for an adult fan, it's a shame we don't get the gritty, sort of dark, narrative-driven game.
I don't even want that. I just want Star Wars.
Okay,
It's not dark. It's not gritty.
No, true. Good point. You just have to put up with a lot of comedy in the Lego games, don't you?
Yeah, and to be honest, although they're doing some wonderful things and they're flipping the mechanics up with the shooting and all that, you literally are. It's very much like a phone smash game. It's like smash, collect, smash, collect, smash, collect, smash, collect.
It reminds me very much of like N64 era type Donkey Kong game.
It's even more obtuse than that.
But probably linear.
And loads more collectibles of nonsense.
Yeah.
Then you're playing through as random random X-Wing pilot through the whole game.
I don't know. You got that vibe from when the figures were released, haven't you? Like playing as just some randomer. Because they released pretty much everything that was shown in the film.
Ray Pages. That's what he does.
He's on his way.
He's on his way. Before he comes down, tell me what he's been up to this week.
This week? Well, as you know, he's got shares in Tencent.
Has he?
He has. So he's had a good week.
Okay.
But he got a little bit shook. Got a little bit shook with Microsoft's big spending.
What's his take on the industry?
He says it's all good. He's absolutely fine with it. He will make money either way.
The thing is, if we move to an all-digital ecosystem...
It's difficult for him because his biggest fear, do you want to know it? Cashless country. He fears contactless payment.
Of course he does.
Is
it true during COVID he made you put your money into a bag of vinegar and then you had to pick your change out?
That is true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's no contactless. That's his version of contactless.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the DVD came in a prophylactic covered in surgical.
He's a big fan of the Reddies, Ray.
Antibacterials. He is.
Yeah.
Well, they can't take them away from them, can they?
They can't.
He always lives in fear as someone resent his bank balance to zero. Here he comes. Time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingray's boot. What's nettled? I don't know what nettles are doing in his boot, and I don't know what they're doing between some counterfeit.
It's stuck under his wheel arch.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Where he's gone off road to avoid the local copper, a policeman, a cop for copper. They'd know the cops in America. Anyway, thank you to the Americans. Thank you to all our listeners. And a dodgy copy of Battlefriend all this week. These are new release highlights for the week 24th of January to January 30th, 2022. Listeners, these will be out digital, physical, or will be by the time this podcast is in your feed, but could be region dependent. I haven't tripped over that. That's like a episode 1, series 1, episode 2 tripwire in the snow of the Stingray blurb that I fell over. I think I'm nervous.
A little nervous. It's okay.
You know,
it's okay.
Could this be? Is there anyone listening anymore?
Hopefully.
Mumsy? Mumsy? I don't think even Mumsy's listening.
Did he do He Who Must Not Be Named? Did he do that big of a job? Even Mumsy was like, that's a bridge too far.
I think maybe so. We're basically back to beginnings. This is like Series 1, Episode 1. We begin the climb again.
Okay.
Anyway, just to cheer you up a little bit. Spring Settle Whoa! I'll go first. Hidden Deep on the PC, January 24th. Hidden Deep is an atmospheric sci-fi action game heavily inspired by the Aliens, The Thing, and Half-Life. Explore, climb, swim, scan, blast, and shoot your way through dangerous missions in a huge sub-oceanic mining and research facility. Fear the horrors that lurk below. I've realised I didn't actually put any coal on the fire. If it's gone out, you're going to have to do...
I will do the next picks. Oh, wow, I get to sit in your chair. Oh, look at this. Leather upholstery. It's got some kind of crest on the back of it as well. Don't know what that's about. Anyway, next up, we've got Reverie Night Tactics, available on PC, PS4, Xbox One and Switch. January 25th. Reverie Night Tactics is a turn-based tactical RPG with strategic battles in isometric grids where every decision can alter the story. Next up after that, we've got Diplomacy is Not an Option, available on the PC, January 26th. You're born a feudal lord, sounds good, right? But you're bored of hunting, executions and tournaments, even a feast with beautiful maidens. The only dream left? Your castle surrounded by hordes of enemies. You would waste no time on negotiation. This is your chance to show them who's in charge. Apologies for that. Next up, we've got Circuit Superstars on the PS4. Here he comes.
You know what they say, don't you?
You won't be as quick to jump.
You don't know a man till you've walked in his shoes.
I was going to say, would you be as quick to jump in my grave?
I'd have too much respect for you and your family to do that.
Okay.
Where did you get to?
Circuit Superstars.
Is a top-down racer built by racing fans for racing fans. Racing fans like top-down racers.
I have a chair. King of the Castle.
Oh, God, this is... I don't know what these references are. It could be dangerous.
Borat.
That's not for the show. Borat's banned. All right. He's
cancelled.
He's cancelled. Celebrating generations of racing, focusing on driving that feels great, but with high skill ceiling.
Sasha Basha cancelled.
Stop it now.
Okay.
We're not even... kids don't know who that is.
This is like sitting in, the headmaster's chair and he's gone out the room.
Oh... The 15th century whitewash has just been pulled off the wall.
The lime has fallen.
Yeah, I don't know why you eat...
Lime whitewash.
Okay. Anyway, Deflector on the PC, January 27th. Deflector is a high-octane bullet hell. Stingray, we've got another roguelite! Every week you bring one of these down!
He loves a roguelite.
He does. Set in a deadly world. Upgrade your characters with the DNA you find. Evolve them further during your runs. Sounds quite cool. And explore the farthest regions of this microcosm. Or die trying.
Zenith, The Last City.
No, you've not.
Did I miss one?
Yeah, you have. Don't forget that one.
Vaganti, PS4, Xbox One and Switch, January 27th. Vaganti is an action-packed platformer that features permanent death and procedurally generated levels, two of your favourite things. Play cooperatively with friends, both locally online or adventure solo in this challenging...
Stingers! We've got another rogue. That's 2 roguelites in the boot this week.
Roguelite-inspired game. Zenith, The Last City, available on PC, Quest 2 and PSVR. January 27th, Fightcraft Explorer.
This is my mummy.
In a massively multiplayer world built for VR. Forge alliances and friendships in guilds and parties. Join epic raids and world events and blaze your own path. How will you use your power?
That's my mummy.
This is my next one then. Pokemon Legends Arceus.
I think that's a reasonably good stab.
Available on the Switch, January 28th. Survey, catch and research wild Pokemon in a long-gone era of Shinoa region to complete in the region's first Pokedex.
Return to Runaway out on the PC, the Xbox series of consoles. It's also on the Xbox One and the Switch, January 28th. Return 2 is a tense, character-driven psychological horror experience. Saki and her fiancé Sen are trapped on an abandoned train that is haunted by an evil spirit that takes the form of a little girl called Ayumi. Battle your way through the haunted train, discover clues in mysterious abandoned locations, escape from the nightmare, and free the trapped souls from the clutches of the evil which has possessed them. You can have 2.
Ray, I'm putting Pokemon back. It's time to let it go.
You've played and finished this and Lost... Have you played Lost Legacy?
No, I haven't.
You are missing out there. It's pretty good, actually.
Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection, PS5, January 28th. Players Nathan Drake and Chloe Fraser in their own standalone adventures as they confront their pasts and forge their own legacies. The Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection includes the critically acclaimed single-player stories from both Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, and Uncharted The Lost Legacy. Now, we've got to the end of this. It's just given me a thought. All the fans listening who are in the Discord, do you know what we'd really like? There's a lot of up-and-coming releases over the next month or two. We'd really love you to say which one you'd like us to preview. Because our game previews have been pretty decent over the years.
If you do say so yourself.
If I do say so myself.
Our best performing episodes have been the game previews.
Some of which I'm not even on, so I haven't listened to them, but I presume they're good. We need to...
The best ever one you would ever...
Yeah. The best show I never was on.
My God, that's gotta be Bobby.
It could be.
It's gotta be Bobby.
He sent some cryptic promos.
Yeah, well...
Is he looking at a Royal Rumble entrance?
The third wheel.
This is where the big wheel returns. Anyway,
what's his in-story reason? Where's he been? You were in Rikers. He got podcast famous and went on an African trip, just looking after children, starving children, doing the right thing. He took all the money he earned from the show, and he bought he built a school and a well and a vaccination program and malaria.
That's why
and mosquito nets.
That's why I stopped talking to him, because he played that card. I wanted to go more the route of
stop.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to play? Oh, wait. Whoa, stop. Mummy.
VHS.
Do your VHS? That's why the rain is shaking his fist.
I'm getting the Thunderbirds box set, the original Jerry Anderson versions.
On VHS?
Yeah, why not?
Good job Ray's got a massive boot.
Yeah, there's a lot of episodes. I forgot, because I've been showing the boys some, and they're like 50 minutes long.
What did you think to them?
Loved it. It's one of those where when the Thunderbird ships and the guys in the suits are there, he's very interested, because they're telling quite a long story over that 40 or 50 minutes. So he loves the vehicles, the spaceships.
The maturity of that story is high as well.
Yeah. We watched the one where they have to rescue the reporters. The guy who's like trying to film Scott Tracy, and he's like, I've just made it so all your film's gone like blank. And then they end up rescuing him from under a building, and Gordon gets his time to shine and goes in, and Thunderbird 4 gets him out. After that, mainstream. Straight on the internet. Old Thunderbird Matchbox toys. Can't find any. Corgi, they're making some. Ooh, Thunderbird 2, spring release, pre-order. Thank you very much. That'll do for the boy. Die-cast as well.
Okay, so that's your...
No expense spared, John Hammond in the house. Anyway, yes. VHS, what would you like to pick out the boot?
Star Wars: A Solo Story. I watch it. I watch it every night. I love it.
Apparently, I need to watch that because it goes into some of the gangs that are probably involved in Boba Fett.
I won't worry about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Link.
It's actually a good film. It's nice fodder to fall asleep to. Let's put it that way.
Oh right. Yeah.
And obviously, what with me being Force no, it's not Force Unleashed. How disrespectful. Jedi Fallen Order. All right. I don't know whether while you were off, I finished that game on PS3. Or was it while you were on?
No, I do remember you talking about Starkiller.
Yeah. I've got the sequel ready to go, but I feel it might be a little bit empty after this now.
Oh yeah, Fallen Orders.
No.
Nicely polished.
This is on PS3.
Okay.
Best gaming console ever made. Anyway, what are you hoping to play?
More Last Guardian. Not available on PS3 apparently, but available on the PS5.
Just comes in time as you hang up your microphone for paternity leave. Shame! I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, Last Guardian. That'll be about it. Like, I'm literally just on the long wait now till Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring.
I can heartily recommend Infamous from that list of games.
Yeah,
that
I
PS
did.
Plus collection.
There's quite a few on there that I was like, should I go for that? I think apparently I am able to now upgrade my internet. Potentially there's more room in the box in the village. So I might start being a bit more like delete, download, whereas now I have to think pretty carefully, because if I delete something, it can take 3 days to re-download it. But yeah, that's... big game. Like
I think Infamous, you would love. There'll be enough time between now and then for you to have a really good go.
I want to get Last Guardian finished if I can. I don't know I hope I don't get bored of the mechanics. I think playing it in short bursts is probably the way to go, because it's not a particularly long game, about 12 hours. So just sort of an hour and a half so at a time.
Okay.
Yeah. What are you hoping to play? Obviously Fallen Order.
Fallen Order.
You reckon you're quite close to finishing that?
Well, I have no idea really.
You thought...
Don't.
Okay, yes.
All right.
I think
I'll play some more SnowRunner. Now's the time to talk about that. Thoroughly good game. And
Is it not a truck sim?
No.
A bit more arcadey?
No.
Okay.
A little bit more sort of...
Smuggler's Run.
Smuggler's Run if it were
Or like
real.
Smuggler's Bum.
Why did you... This paternity leave can't come soon, can it? No, like Smuggler's Run if it were real. So if you rip through the grass too much, you would wheel spin and then you would drag the car down.
Okay.
So you got to drive it. You got to position your weight. If you're going off road, you got to get your weight right. You got to get your diff selection right. You got to get the all-wheel drive system activated. You got to get yourself in low. If you go at it just full on, it's like you're not going to get up. But as if you go in low, nice and steady, you get up in that feeling of cresting a hill and the car sort of dropping over, or the vehicle topping in, or you're getting through the mud.
Does it have that same feeling of like when we played Death Stranding, of like plotting your route and
very
slow monotony?
Very, very, very much that. Very, very, very much all of that. And as you upgrade, like I've been struggling with this really poor wagon, and I managed to playing with RGT. We got some unlocks. So I got a new engine, a
play
suspension
online?
raise. I only play online with people that are willing to role play with me, and I mean when I say role play, I mean role play.
Okay.
No talk of anything other than what's happening in the in-game universe. Only talk within the in-game universe of how these characters would interact with each other in real life.
Like how we tried playing Red Dead Redemption.
When you save it, right, you that's where you get asleep in the cab for the night, and then when you load it back the next time, that's when you get up in the morning and you're brushing your teeth and you're checking your truck over, making sure you got the fuel. And
I love how you view the world.
This is real life.
I like that.
All right, that's if you're willing to role play. And I mean, you don't break character even... You talk of method acting, all right? If you could bring your stage experience to SnowRunner, it would be possibly one of the most phenomenal gaming experiences in my life.
I'd just be doing Jack Burton impressions all the time, and you wouldn't enjoy yourself.
Exactly. So that's where that's at. And with that, I would say that's all we have time for this week, listeners. As always, thank you for your time. We look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy gaming. And remember, there's nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. See you, Tom.
See ya.